Hey everyone, welcome to our orientation into Photoshop. I have opened up my version here of the program, and you may recognize that it is still different from the version that you have, which is okay. We'll figure that out later, but in the meantime, these orientation tutorials that we're going to go through here, I want you to also be able to get the experience as well. So, and see the tools, the layout, understand really how things work. Um, I know you've already gotten kind of a brief orientation into it with our first project, but it's always good to touch on a few of these most popular tools that we'll be working with. So, as you can see, mine looks a little different than yours. What yours is missing are these first four orientation tutorials, these hands-on tutorials. You can see that they're not very long, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 4, and 1. But this part over here should look familiar. You have a create new and you have an open. Okay, so you can either create new, basically from scratch. It'll open up a blank canvas in front of you, or you can go to open a file. And in this case, I have shared with you files here that you can download to your student drive, your computer, if your student drive is not working at the moment. You can save those, and then you can open those up into Photoshop. Once you have them saved, you can click on open, and you should be able to navigate to the folder where you have your work shared. So I have a teacher folder here with my name. You should have a student folder with or a student drive with your name. And then within that drive, you should create a folder that says digital media. And within that folder, you have one that says Photoshop and maybe one that says VeggieHead, which is where we started our first project. I've got these saved in my Photoshop and intro folder. And so I have these that you are able to download. And so you'll see in our assignment that you can download. I have shared these with you. You should be able to download to your student drive and then open them up as you need them for these tutorials. So you're going to start with orientation 1 PSD, that's a Photoshop file, and then click open. Okay, that is a step you're going to take. What I'm going to do is click right on this and it will open it up for me. So I'm going to go to start tutorial and then here we go. All right, so I'm going to walk you through the tutorial that it's sharing with me so that we get the same experience and that you know the tools that I know for Photoshop. Okay, so here's what it says. First thing you need to know about is your layers panel. That's one of the key parts of Photoshop. They're essentially like transparent layers, transparencies, or glass layers with images on them. And so there's going to be some transparent areas. There's going to be some content on that panel, on that layer as well. So you can reorder these. You can turn layers on and off. And you can take these and you can drag them from top to bottom. And as you do that, you'll be able to see how it changes the image. Okay. You can also turn the images on and off by these layers. So really handy when you're trying to isolate certain parts of your project. So I'm going to go to next. So it says drag the layers, and this is what I want you to do as well. Drag the flower layer above the woman layer. Release when you see a blue line. Dragging a layer in the layers panel changes the order of the images on canvas. Okay, and then click next, which is you can't do that. You're just going to follow along with what I'm doing with this file. So grab this flowers layer, drag it up above the woman layer. You can see how it's changed it here. I'm going to go to next. Click the eye icon to the left of the woman layer to turn the layer off. this can help you focus on the other layers. So just like I was showing before, you can see how that might help out. Okay, so I've turned it off. I'm going to go to next. This is your toolbar, one of the most important parts of the interface. The tools are for selecting, repositioning, editing, and a lot more. There's a lot of tools here. So we're going to check out a few of the ones here. So I'm going to click next. The zoom tool from the bottom of the toolbar. If you can't select this, then select something else and then go back and select it. Okay. Oops, let me see here. Let's go back. All right. So got the zoom tool selected. Click to zoom in on the flowers and click next to continue. So I'm going to zoom in on these flowers here. I'm going to click on it just once like that. If I click and drag to the right, it zooms in really close. If I click and drag to the left, it zooms out really far. So I'm going to zoom in. Now I'm up close to the flowers. I'm going to click next. Next thing you're going to do is click on this eyedropper. It allows you to sample colors that are in the image. So I'm going to select this eyedropper tool, and I'm going to use it to choose the bright yellow in this flower. Okay, it's going to change my color that's over here. I have a foreground color and a background color. So it's going to change my foreground color from this blue to this yellow color that I choose here. See how it's changed? That's important for later. Next, double click the hand tool right here, and this will display the image as large as possible and fit it within the screen. So I double clicked on that hand tool to do that. This is the option bar. Okay, this bar changes with every tool that you have here. Every tool has different options, and this is where that shows up. Okay. The select brush tool from the toolbar. Notice how the options bar changes to reflect the toolbar or the tool that's chosen. So I'm going to select this, see how these options have changed. I'm going to click to open the brush preset picker. So right here to the left of the brush folder icon. So this is the brush folder icon. I'm going to choose this right here. I'm going to drag the size to about 500, which I've already done. So you can change the size here by sliding this, or you can type it in right here, whichever way. And then I'm going to click next. Change the painting blend mode from normal. Yours may say normal like this. And I'm going to change it to dissolve like that. And I'm going to go to next. I'm almost ready to start painting. I'm going to hit next. I'm going to select the circle, the layer over here titled circle. So I'm going to click over here. Now it's kind of highlighted light gray. I'm going to make a new layer. It says there is a square with a plus icon symbol in it, and click on that at the bottom of your layer panel. If you hover over it, it'll tell you create a new layer. I'm going to click on it. So now I am in a new layer that is above my circle. When you see this checkered pattern, that means it's transparent. So there's nothing on this layer right now. So I'm going to brush in the center of this orange circle without touching the edges. So I'm just going to brush around like that. I'm going to click the empty box to the left of the woman layer to reveal her image again. So I'm going to turn this back on so we see her. Now we have a nice little splash of yellow color behind her. It really does good in making her image pop a little bit more, makes it stand out, which is nice. So I'm going to go to next. I'm going to select the layer for the sky so it's ready to edit. Select the spot healing brush tool from the toolbar. It looks like a little band-aid. So click that. I'm going to click on the brush preset picker for the options bar, so this little guy here. And I'm going to drag the slider to about 100, which is where it's at. Again, you can adjust it here, or you can type in the number. So I'm at 105. That's close. It says about 100, so that's good. And then I'm going to go to next. So now I'm going to drag this brush over the two birds and watch them be replaced with the sky. A little simple brush like that, and it's been replaced. Pretty handy, pretty good tool to use for little blemishes and things like that. So I'm going to go to next, and next again. And that is it for this file. So we've made a couple changes. You've added a layer. We painted on that layer. We've gone through a couple different tools to help you move around, and we've made these birds disappear. What I want you to do now is we have a file, and I want you to save this file as a JPEG, okay? So we're going to go to File, and you're going to save as. Now, right now I have orientation 1 PSD. What you can't do is just change these last three letters to JPG, which is a JPEG. What you have to do is change it from save type as Photoshop to save as JPEG. Now there's a few different JPEG types here. The one we're dealing with right now is just normal JPEG, JPEG. And I'm going to change the name of this to orientation _1, not PSD, so you can keep it separate. So I changed it to orientation _1, and it's going to save as a JPEG type. I'm going to save it in the same folder where my original Photoshop files were saved. I'm going to save it here. This will pop up. I'm going to save it as the maximum size, which is good, large file. It means it's going to be the most clear, the best clarity and resolution. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to check to make sure that that is saved correctly. So I'm going to open this up, go to my student or your student folder or drive. And another way that you can do that, because I realize that y'all might not have this folder down here, is to go to this PC on your desktop. And down on the side here, you should see, in a perfect world, your name with the drive icon next to it. And that's what you'll click on here, or you might see it here. You should have a folder created for digital media in your student file. And then I have one for Photoshop, an intro, and here's my JPEG file. It's different from a Photoshop file in that it is only a flat image, okay? None of the layers are saved, and so it's always important that you save both, that you have both of them saved. You have a JPEG file and you have the original Photoshop file, because when you open this up, you'll still be able to manipulate the different layers and make edits to it as you did before. A JPEG file you can't open up this way. Here's a Photoshop file of what we just did. I'm going to go to File, and I want you to go to File, Open, locate your orientation 1 JPEG, and open that file. And you'll see I have orientation 1 JPEG. This is one I don't need. This is the file that I started with. Mine is titled Untitled 2. Yours should say Orientation 2. but it'll say PSD behind it. This is orientation 1 JPEG, and you notice that I do not have any layers here. So I cannot manipulate, I cannot go back and change those layers like I did before. So that's an important thing to know about Photoshop. If you want to permanently save a file type as basically a permanent image that cannot be further edited the way that we did before, then you're going to save it as a JPEG. It's a good file for sharing as well. Photoshop files are a lot larger. Click on it here because you're having to save all the information on these layers separately, and it saves it in the highest resolution, so there is no quality loss. So once you have this completed here, this file that you saved in your folder, this is what you're going to share with me. Make sure that it is titled correctly, orientation_1, and JPEG. If you saved as the correct file type, it should automatically put that in there. So that's what you're going to share with me in Schoology. So I'll see you for the next, for orientation number 2.